Hey everyone, how's it going? This is your host Yoshino, and you're listening to another episode of Artist Decoded. There has been a lot going on recently, and I have to apologize because I have not been regularly posting episodes. There's been a lot of changes going on recently, and I've been traveling for the past month. I'm currently in Mexico right now. And what can I say? Change is good. Change is necessary. You can't stop change. Evolution occurs if you are conscious of it or not. And, there's a lot going on. So I'll have to share what's been going on, what's been on my mind on one of the Yoshino Cast episodes that I'm planning on putting out sometime within the next couple weeks, probably. And also, if there are any artists in Mexico that people would like to suggest for me to interview and talk to, please email me at info@artistdecoded.com. And I'm more than willing to interview new artists. So if anyone has suggestions from the audience, please send it my way. So this is an exciting interview between singer-songwriter and multi-instrumental musician Lewis Cole with AD's very own resident co-host Justin Dosher Hopkins. Lewis's newest album, Quality Over Opinion, will be released on October 14th on Brainfeeder Records. And Lewis's main instrument is the drums. You can watch a lot of him drumming on YouTube. One of my personal favorite videos is entitled Drum Solo. You can check that, and F It Up is another personal favorite of mine. But in this episode, he credits his background in jazz to have a huge influence on his musical trajectory, while also crediting classical composers such as Gustav Mahler and jazz icons like Miles Davis. He also credits other influences on this record, which are as far-reaching as Swedish metal band Meshuggah, Skrillex, and even the likes of SNES's Super Mario Kart. I think he also talked about Streets of Rage and Star Fox to be some of the influences on him. And if you listen to his music, which I think that everyone should, you'll kind of see that in the aesthetics and also in, to me, it's very apparent. And, he goes into an explanation of that in this episode. But, I really enjoyed listening back to this episode between Justin and Lewis. They had a great little riff session here. And I think a lot of you will get something out of this episode, whether you're a musician or not. But this is just a great episode revolving around the arts and creativity. So before we begin, please go to our iTunes page or our Spotify page. Leave us a review there. It takes just a little bit over a couple of seconds. And I would greatly appreciate that. Also, if you'd like to donate to us, you can do so at artistdecoded.com. There's a donate link, which will direct you to our PayPal or our Patreon page. So go check it out. This next track is a really funky track, and I wanted to play it in its entirety. The track is on Lewis's newest album, Quality Over Opinion. The title is called Dead Inside Shuffle. I hope you like it, and here it is, followed by the interview. Enjoy.
I'm anyways, I was just asking why music? How did you end up who you are as a musician? And you were talking about your dad.
Yeah, my dad, he would play piano at home all the time. He'd be playing like Chopin and Bach and like Bill Evans and Gil Evans and just a ton of stuff like that. And he'd also play records too, like a lot of jazz, classical, James Brown, everything that was good. Like I feel like stuff that just objectively falls in a category of high quality music. So he just was constantly playing that, and something about that got me interested in music. I think I have musical genes too, because I have a lot of extended family, like aunts and uncles and cousins in like symphony orchestras. Maybe it's like something like 7 or 8 almost. It's like a lot at this point. So something maybe was built in, and it was definitely my dad though. The exposure, just hearing him play and then hearing the music he would play. And I don't know, I just couldn't escape it. I think it was like when I was really young, I would bang my head on my pillow as like a drum pattern, like a rhythmic pattern, while I would sing like Raffi songs or Stevie Wonder songs or something, as a way to fall asleep. And then my parents were like, like, what's wrong with this kid? I think it was just that I was obsessed already with music, and I didn't know how to deal with it or express it or anything, because I wasn't like playing music at that point. I was just kind of like humming and smashing my head against my pillow in a rhythm every night. So I don't really have like a clear answer. I just know that those are the indicators that I was obsessed at a young age.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, even those influences or the references you said your dad were playing with, you can still kind of hear that in your music. Like I still hear Bill Evans and Gil Evans,
yeah, totally.
For sure. And also like some of the so definitely some classical elements. I notice you like quote some Stravinsky and stuff and F it up and all that, and so that's pretty amazing that it's like kind of ingrained since you were a child. But the banging the head thing, you like, was it a violent banging, or was it it was like a lulling you kind of thing? It was like the rhythm of it that helped you fall asleep?
I mean, it definitely disturbed the people around me. I had a hard time having friends, like sleepovers with friends at a young age, because they'd be like, what the hell is wrong with you? So I don't know how serene it was. Maybe it was not quite.
But it was the feeling of the rhythm that helped you think?
I think so, yeah. That's what I remember kind of vaguely from then. Just was like, I needed to express it somehow. I don't know why bedtime was the time for that, but it just, I don't know. You know what's weird, man, is maybe there's something in there, because like the rhythm and sleep connection, like sometimes when I'm mixing drums over and over, it's the same beat, and it's like I'll loop a section just to mix it. So I'm getting the same beat and rhythm over and over, looped. Sometimes I'll get really tired, and I'll actually sometimes get close to falling asleep while that happens. So I don't know. There's maybe some connection there I need to check out.
Or maybe you just like ingrained it in young, and now it's just like a kind of a response mechanism or something. Yeah, Pavlovian. Pavlovian response or something.
Yeah, possibly.
Or maybe it's just that when you were a kid, like those are like I remember when I was a kid, I used to have a hard time sleeping too, because my mind would just wander like crazy, because it's the quietest time of the day, and you're usually just as a kid just inundated with stimuli. So maybe you needed that stimuli or something, or that was the time to express it.
It's possible. We should turn this podcast into like some kind of therapy session.
Or for me too. Like I'm getting something out of this as well.
That's cool.
But so speaking of rhythm though, you started out as a drummer, right?
Yeah.
So why drums?
Well, besides the inability to somehow keep rhythms inside without hitting my head against stuff, I think the other main thing was that a drum set had a lot of moving parts, and I was like obsessed with like Legos and helicopters and guns and stuff when I was a kid, because I just thought they looked cool and had like cool moving parts. And the drum set totally fell into that same category of like cool metallic machinery, and I just thought it was cool, like the pedal with all the metal on it. It was like shiny and it like moved, and I was like, damn it, I want that. I was like, I either want that or a bassoon, because if you've ever seen a bassoon, it has a ton of that going on too. So
a lot of mechanics.
Exactly. So I was like, that's cool. And then, so I guess that was, I don't know. So that seemed like the correct choice because of, kind of hit all the boxes, I guess.
Just because you like building stuff, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's kind of like your music too. Because I mean, from an outside perspective, I don't want to say to you what your music is, but to me, when I listen to it,
you should just, say.
All right, your music is,
yeah, that's fine.
Is like to me when I listen to it, I hear lots of little structures and blocks, like kind of built in, like even like your synth and piano parts or funky bass parts. They all sound like little rhythmic structures that kind of like lock in together, kind of Lego-like. So I think that's interesting.
Man, that's actually interesting. I've never thought of it like that, and the way you're saying it makes a lot of sense.
I mean, it feels like little architectures to me. That's why I love listening to your music, because it's got such like a locked in feel, like where all your patterns just are built together to kind of support each other. And I think that's what is so pleasing about it. With even though some things can be really complex, I love how everything just locks in rhythmically. It almost feels like a rhythmic kind of city or something. So that's cool. What I've loved about your stuff.
Well, that's nice that comes across. That kind of I guess I always thought maybe I was lucky to have a good an equal dose of care for left brain and right brain style thinking, like the creative and the analytical organizational stuff. And that's kind of what you're saying too, with how it's like a structure to, it's like got structure to it in a certain way. And I don't know. I think that's kind of how I think about music, is like almost equally right brain and left brain.
Interesting.
Working together.
When I hear you play keyboard and stuff, it sounds like percussive, like a drum. Do you actively approach those instruments like your original instrument?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I don't know, like the only stuff that I can play on keyboard really is like rhythmic stuff, like left hand bass, right hand chords kind of stuff, like like that stuff. I'm basically playing drums on the keyboard.
Right.
And same with the bass. Like if I play, some people think I'm good at bass, which is like, dude, if you ever hired me for a gig for bass, I would ruin your gig. It's like I can't play. I struggle with major scales and stuff like that. But like for some reason I can play slap bass because it's basically like playing drums on the bass. Right.
You think like do you think more rhythmically than you do harmonically and melodically, because you're gifted at all those things?
I don't think so. I don't know. It's hard for me to really break it down like this, but I think if like gun to my head, I would say that my favorite thing about music is harmony, probably. I mean, they all have to work together for it to really be special, but it's like if I had to pick one that really just could fire me up on its own, it's harmony. Because I don't know, there's something about harmony that makes me it's like almost gives me memories and nostalgia for things I didn't even experience. Like when I hear a cool chord progression, it just like hits me really deep. I'm like suddenly like, almost like when you smell something and it hits your olfactory memory, which is like your strongest memory center. It's almost like that, but it's sometimes not even real memories. It's just like, whoa, it really transports me. So I love harmony a lot. So I would say, I don't know which one I'm emphasizing more, because also like you can ruin your harmony with a dumb melody. Even dumb lyrics too. You can ruin everything. You can have a great groove, great harmony, great melody that you've thought through and put your whole soul and spirit into, but then you can almost like ruin it with just dumb words, So it's like, I think they all kind of have to be in place and be cared for to some equal degree. However, I don't know. I guess harmony really hits me the hardest. And I obviously do care about rhythm too. Like I still practice drums every day, and I really get pissed at myself when my time isn't good. Like on a show, if I rush a bunch of fills or something like that, like I'm definitely, up my own ass about it. But as far as like harmony, that's definitely something that I spend a long time really trying to find something new, but also very solid. And I know this sounds weird, but almost like mathematical. I don't understand this enough either to say this, but like to me, it seems like it's mathematically makes sense or something, Like sometimes you'll hear like classic perfect chord progressions, and there's always something mathematical about it that makes sense. Like, oh, there's a chromatic note that goes down the entire time, or there's like one note that works throughout the whole chord progression, yet it's like shifting key centers or something like that. And again, I don't know enough about mathematics or theory to be throwing terms around like this, but that's just kind of what it feels like to me. It's like there's, there's some level of organization in it that makes sense. But I try to find something that's like mathematically solid or organizationally solid, but also new sounding and different. And that to me really fires me up. And when I create chords like that, or like, I guess when I create any song I'm into, I'm very happy. But like when I create a chord progression that I just feel like really nails the feeling that I'm trying to get, then those are like my happiest moments in daily life.
I mean, it makes sense that you were so fond of Bill Evans when you were a kid too, then, because he's got amazing chord patterns and like kind of voice leadings that like, because when I think of like your work and the things I like about some of the amazing chord structures on your record, like Let It Happen, I think has an amazing chord structure throughout and major changes that create all these beautiful harmonies, is that the harmonies all just sound like a lot of little melodies that are great in their own right, stacked on top of each other, kind of collaborating.
Man, that's actually interesting you said that, especially with Let It Happen, because that's reminding me now when I wrote that, the melody was built into the chords. And this is weird because I wrote the chords one at a time. I basically held a note like ding or whatever, just had that looping in the computer. The software I was writing in, and then I had a keyboard. And then I would just write one chord at a time without hearing the previous chord, just like new chord without thinking about the previous chord. And I wrote like maybe 50 chords in a row. And then there was that one nugget in there, and they were just random chords. There was that one nugget in there of 12 chords or whatever it is for the outro of Let It Happen that I was just like, holy shit, that's a nice chord progression. And then the melody was just built into the top notes. Basically. So it was just in there. So I kind of know what you mean with the melodies being built into certain chord progressions. Definitely for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what creates that flow that you have in that. I mean, just from me, if I'm just analyzing, because I listened to that song quite a bit when it came out, because I think it's absolutely gorgeous. But like, yeah, there's just like all these the flow of it. There's like little melodic flows, whether it's a top note is the main melody, but like all the other ones underneath it feel like this like kind of ocean of little melodies that are supporting each other. So the chord structure is beautiful. Even if you just painstakingly found each individual note, you'd never be able to tell, which is something kind of interesting about your music too. Is like, I definitely have the feeling of this like bedroom kind of feel to it. And when I say that, I don't mean it in any other way aside from that. Like when you make something in your own space, you have this obsession and this like kind of intimacy to it, and you have no idea how long someone spent on something, because it feels just as spontaneous as it would if it just popped out. But yeah. I imagine there's like a lot of obsessing over it because the structures are so strong, and you just had so much time to workshop it. So it's kind of like mysterious in that way, I feel like. So I have no idea how long something took, because like if I was listening to that song, Let It Happen, I could see you just like kind of flowing out. It's kind of interesting to hear how you did it. Is that a pretty like common way of approaching a song, is like just slowly like hammering away until you're like satisfied, or do you have an idea structurally first and then kind of try to make it work?
I guess it's both. Yeah. Sometimes I'll just get a real clear idea, just at some point in life, and then it'll come to me as like a gift from the universe, and then I'll be like, I can't forget this, so I'll write it down in text. Either I'll sing it into a voice note, but more often I'll write it down in text as like what the groove was, what the chords maybe were like, what the melody felt like to me, what even the words could possibly be, just like every detail, and like even what the production and the sound should be, or what it was in the initial idea that came to me. And then when it's time to write later, I'll try to revisit that text note or voice memo, and I'll try to recreate it to the highest degree of nailage that the idea came to me with. And then there's also the other times where I'll just record like for this new Knower album I'm working on, I just recorded like maybe like 15 or 20 drum beats, and then on each of those drum beats I would just record a new idea several new ideas every day. Just spend like maybe 8 hours every day just writing, not putting too much pressure on anything, just writing over these, whatever beat for that day. And then by the end of like 6 months, it's like, whoa, there's a lot of material in there. Some of it is, or most of it's, unusable and you wouldn't want to use it. But some of it is like, you surprise yourself later when you go back and listen just to the sheer volume of it. Especially if you're not scrutinizing too hard in the moment. Like you make the little idea that you're writing, the best you can for the moment, but then you move on, do another one, move on, do another one, move on, do another one. And, after doing that 8 hours every day on 15 different beats or whatever, then it's like, shit, there's actually enough here to do stuff with. So those are the two go-to methods for me.
And is that pretty common for like that project in particular, or does that work into your solo work as well?
I'd say that's everything that I do.
So do you like? I once had this like conversation with a friend of mine who was trying to convince me that quantity over quality is actually a better way to do things, because you end up with thousands of little ideas that when you get a chance to step back from it, you can actually make into really great ideas versus just hammering away at a single idea.
I would say that definitely works, because then it's like very deliberate bursts of effort put into quality. So if you have like what you were saying, like if you have a ton of quantity, then it's like, then you decide what you want to put your quality effort into to finish as a song. And I like that, because then you're not burning yourself out the entire process trying to make everything perfect. It's not meant to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
interesting. So I think there could be. I also am curious about, with your like really intense like work ethic, like how did you end up at that place where you are? It seems to me that you spend a tremendous amount of time not only on the records, but also you've alluded to like practicing drums every single day as a steady practice. Do you see that as a thing that is like a compulsion, like a therapy, or is it like a way of just staying on top of your game?
Oh, I think it's probably both. Yeah, I definitely staying on top and keeping my muscles working, and trying to slowly reach next levels and fix things, which at this point is harder because my neurons are so connected in habit. So it's like if I have to fix something, it's like, oh shit, I have to really dig in there and rewire some stuff. But it still works. I still fix mistakes, and I think I'm constantly getting better at the instrument, which is nice. So there's definitely that. But then also, it's definitely therapy. It's not only, it's like the drums, especially, they're kind of like a little bit of an exercise, like, aerobic exercise, in my opinion. I'm sweating and stuff when I practice. So it's like, that's definitely beneficial too. I find every time I exercise, it's like good for my brain and it's my overall mood and energy level. But yeah, I think also just like the unknown spiritual benefit of just like practicing something all the time and not taking out, too many breaks from it, like kind of keeping it a consistent thing. It's just like, it's a nice anchor to have for me spiritually.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great that you're able. I feel like anything that you're able to get to the point where you're at, where you can enter that, for lack of a better word, like flow state, and just like have your body and mind like coalescing together like that. That's like a pretty amazing transcendent thing, or at least it can be.
Yeah, definitely.
So what does your daily practice look like then, musically or whatever?
Lately I've been trying to, what I'll do is I'll wake up and then I'll take a long time just like screwing around on my phone. I'll just get that over with. Yeah. I'll usually I'll go into detail about what I'm doing lately, because it's kind of interesting to me. So I'm going to talk about it, but because I'm trying to discover new things and different things about like health and, just daily routines and things like that. So I'll like go outside and stand in the sun for like 20 minutes while I check my messages. It just feels better to like do that as opposed to doing it in your bed before you've got. That's what I used to do. It's just like be all depressed in my bed, just looking at a glowing screen before I've even opened the curtains or anything. So I'll try to like force myself to go stand in the sun for 20 minutes while I check my messages, and then once those are checked, I'll go inside. And now I've been like trying to lift weights for the past couple of years, because like I was getting so thin, which is just, I guess, the genetics that I have. My body like eats itself really easily. So I've been trying to like lift weights to maintain, which, you know, is good for many reasons. One of them is the drums, though. I need that. It's like I'm less prone to injury and things like that. I just feel like I can operate in this physical world better like that. So I've been trying to do that. And then once that's done, I'll go and I'll practice drums, you know, for like 45 minutes or something like that. And sometimes, if it's not too intense of a day, I'll practice a little bit of singing and a little bit of a bass, which I've been trying to do this month. And then after that, the rest of the time I spend on writing or mixing, whatever the projects are. Lately it's been mixing because I had my solo album, then I have this Nowhere album, and then I also, after that, will have another album I need to mix, which is a project I recorded with Metropole Orkestra in Holland. Yeah. So it's like a lot of new music. It's more in the finishing stages.
This is music you composed and arranged for them?
Exactly.
Wow. Incredible. It's done all new music, or is it just like, is it renditions of work you've already composed that we've maybe heard?
Well, it was all new music, but then some of the demos that I made, just as I was writing and arranging the stuff, I really liked. So they ended up actually becoming songs on my solo album, on this new one. Like Message and Shallow Laughter, Bitches, Let It Happen. I think those ones are all from the Metropole Orchestra collaboration, but then I really like the demo, so I put them on my album too.
Amazing. So when you do that record, will you be singing on top of the Metropole?
Yeah, we actually recorded the most of the material I'll use is from this one show that we did live at North Sea Jazz Festival in July this year. And then obviously, you know, I want it to be an album, so it's like mostly live from a show, but then we also recorded in a studio November of last year, so I'll probably, like, you know, splice in moments from that too, in case, you know, if there's anything I want to replace.
So you have two other projects coming up that are essentially collaborations in some capacity. How do you maneuver collaboration?
I'm not the best collaborator, actually, because I just get so set on what I want, and I'm a fortress. I can't be convinced otherwise, because I'm just so into the idea that I have, and it's become so strong, and I spend so much time and energy perfecting it in my mind before I even present it. So it's like very hard for me to change it once I come in. I mean, I have good luck collaborating, or I've had, you know, the person that's easiest to collaborate with for me is Genevieve. Just because we not only have we done it the longest, we just happen to line up in so many ways, energetically and life view wise, that I don't know, it just kind of works, and we just kind of agree on the same ideas and stuff. So there's really never any, you know, problems or.
Got it. And you guys have a kind of a unique musical chemistry that allows you to collaborate easily with
exactly
her.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, we just line up somehow musically every time. It seems like we just kind of have the same views. So it's like,
yeah, I totally understand that.
It's nice. And I've also like collaborated with Thundercat too, and that's been cool too, because he can be, you know, obviously has strong ideas, but he's okay with, he seems like to me he's okay with, you know, if I ever am like, oh, I have to do this and it'll be strong with an idea, he's like, yeah, just go for it. You know, he's like, he's cool in that way. So that's been nice for me too. Anytime we've worked on anything. Plus, we definitely have similar music views in a lot of ways, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it makes sense in some ways. Like your guys' music kind of feels like it could have a conversation with each other a little bit, but also it must be tough having like two strong-headed auteurs in the same, you know, writing room. So I can imagine that could be challenging at times for sure.
Yes.
What about the features on your record? How does that go about? Because there's some really interesting people on here, and Genevieve again with your, who's a longtime collaborator, Sam Gendel, who I know a little bit through Pino and Blake. And then terrific musician, big fan of his as well. But and then members of Kneebody, and actually the one I'm most excited about is Kurt Rosenwinkel, which is a strange one, I feel like. But he was like, me and my friends loved Kurt Rosenwinkel when we were in high school. We used to listen to that album Heartcores.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, with a Q-Tip and stuff. We used to listen to that one in high school.
Yes.
And so that was a kind of a cool, strange collaboration. So how did that come into play? Did you just reach out? Have you guys played together?
With Kurt, yeah, we kind of just I don't know. I mean, obviously, I've been a huge fan of his for a long time. I was listening to hardcore in high school too.
Yeah,
a lot. I was listening to his music a lot for a while, and the Kaipi album that came out the last a few years ago, that was also, I listened to that one a lot too. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. And then I actually don't remember how we kind of. I think we met through Pedro Martins, the guitar player.
Got it. He's on there. You work with him as well, right? Is he on the record?
No, he's not on this one. He's on the Metropole one though.
Got it.
Yeah, he'll be on that. Yeah, but
amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. And then we met a few times in real life, and he was in LA one time while I had this solo show. I was just playing by myself, and I was like, "Do you want to play on a couple songs?" And one of the ones he played on was just that outro from that song "When" on my album.
Yeah.
That was from a live show, a YouTube. Somebody filmed it on their iPhone and put it on YouTube, and then I saw it and I was like, "Damn it, that is cool!" Because I was trying to record that with him anyway.
Right.
Because I remember it being nice from that night, but then I was like, "This is the take, actually." So I just ripped it from YouTube. I don't remember.
What, really?
Yeah, but thank you, whoever filmed it. And I just ripped it from YouTube, downloaded it, and put it on. Pitch shifted it and put it on. Mixed it a little bit and put it on as the outro for that song.
Wow, interesting. I mean, that kind of makes sense because that does have a different like sonic quality than some of the rest of the record. But it sounds great.
Thanks. Yeah, it's kind of cool. You can hear like drinks rattling and stuff.
Cool. I mean, I'll have to listen again. I love that one. There's a few songs on here that are collaborations that I really like. I really like what's the Let Me Snack.
Oh yeah, with Marlon.
I love that one. It's
nice.
Has a little bit of a plot twist in the middle that it's reminiscent of something else I've heard before, but I can't quite place it. It's almost like some kind of horrorcore situation.
Nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful stuff. I love that surprise in the middle of the record.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
But I would go to Bakersfield and do gigs with Marlon where I would bring in like ideas that I had been working on. But Bakersfield is like a farm city, like 2 hours away from LA.
Yeah.
And Marlon would be like, "I have a gig. Do you want to come and we'll do some stuff?" So I'll email him like these new ideas that I'll write in like 2 days. I'll give myself like 2 days to just come up with a bunch of new ideas, and then I'll email them to him, and then we'll do them together in Bakersfield. And we've done that a whole bunch. And then that song was just kind of like, we should record. This one's good. So,
yeah.
Actually, there's another one, Park Your Car on My Face. Actually, the groove, the instrument part, definitely, that came from a Bakersfield, writing for a Bakersfield gig with Marlon also.
Next time I listen to it, I'll have to see if I can pick out the spirit of Bakersfield in there.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Farm funk.
Yeah, Cowville. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the influence that we're we got this some of the press information, and a lot of the influences listed they made a lot of sense to me, but were also, I think, too I don't even want to say the untrained ear because that sounds condescending. That's what I mean. I don't mean that, but it both makes sense and is totally strange to hear it, which is I have listed your Mahler, Ligeti. Those make sense to me. Miles Davis, obviously. Yeah. Meshuggah was a surprising one. But I love Meshuggah. And then Mario Kart, and it's all those things don't make sense together. But when you think about them with your music, I totally understand how that creates your work, or not creates your work, but influences your work.
Yeah. I could probably walk you through, or someone through each song and show you where the influences come from, and make more sense. But there's a lot of Mario Kart for sure, man. Every time I listen to my own music, I'm like, damn, it's really crazy how like this Super Nintendo games I was playing really had a background cumulative inspiration build up in my brain that I wasn't even aware of, until later on.
I mean, that's some of the best music.
It really is, man. Like, I still go on YouTube and I'll listen to the original soundtrack from Streets of Rage, from Super Mario Kart, from Star Fox for Super Nintendo. And there's definitely some other good ones too, but those are the three that I really go to the most.
Yeah, I mean, I even hear some, like, even in some of the more like lighter texture stuff, like reminds me of like the underwater theme for Donkey Kong,
For sure.
Yeah, it's like it's just got that kind of floaty, kind of spaced out jazz thing going on.
Yeah, there's definitely a common thread between the quote underwater themes from a lot of these games that have like a nice quality to them from that era.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they had such a limited palette of sounds they like had to they had to really like stretch it pretty hard. That's why I love that music too, because the music is pretty crazy, like pretty. It makes sense that like it kind of would spawn a lot of like more intellectual kind of music from the kids who played those games, because all the harmonies and structures are totally wild, because they only had so many sounds to play with, so they really stretched it. It's beautiful stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. So instead of like walking through each song, what if I just say like Meshuggah? Where's that? Where could you point out that on the record?
Well, the reason why Meshuggah is so amazing to me is because they're one of the tightest bands, if not the tightest band, arguably. Because I mean, it's, everyone's got their own genre and things that they align with, but they're arguably the tightest band. I've seen so many live videos of them on YouTube, even from like in the 90s and stuff, like early on. And it's just like, dude, the drummer, Thomas Hawk, he's like, I don't know, as far as that kind of music, to me, he's the most fat-bottomed, grooving drummer in that way. And then, of course, like, like Frederick and his guitar parts and his playing, and just everyone has perfect time in that band. And but in a way that's like so beautiful. It just like feels good. It's like really grooving to me. It's some of the most grooving music I've ever heard. So and I just like, I like the concept of metal too, or at least whatever. I don't know the terms for the subgenres and all that, but like where the bass drum and the bass and the guitar are playing at the same time, like always, throughout the whole song. And that to me is just like, it's cool, man. It's like a simple, satisfying framework that like can lead to just like a really powerful funk vibe. And I think that they're really they groove in a very special way. So they definitely, I don't even know what's going on time signature wise, and I stopped trying to figure that out, but I just kind of let the funk speak for itself, and it's definitely it definitely moves me.
That's amazing. I mean, I don't know if I've ever heard anyone describe Meshuggah as like a funk vibe, but I get it. I mean, I like that every instrument in that band feels like they might as well be a drum. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah,
to
that
me.
is
It's like
nice.
almost primal or something.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's really something. Well, what about let's say Mahler? Because Mahler and Ligeti are like, sure, they're both fall under classical, but one's more romantic and one's definitely more angular modernist. So how do you maneuver that into your music?
Well, the Mahler piece that really hits me is that super famous Adagio or Adagietto. I don't know the name here. I don't speak Italian, so I don't know what it is. But,
I get it.
But the what is it? The fourth movement in the Fifth Symphony, the really famous one. That's like one of the best songs ever written. And I'm not even talking opinion here. It's just it's the best. I mean, it's crazy how perfect it is. It's like, that is a blessed piece of music from the universe. So I don't know when I heard that when I was like 20, I was like, damn, I guess I like classical music more than I thought, and that kind of just stayed with me. It was just like, just a beacon of light for any time I try to write anything could come close to something that vibe. I just kind of, think of it as like a stamp of quality that has been created by someone else that I just, get a little boost of inspiration thinking about. But, there's other things that he's written. Like, he's not my absolute favorite besides that song. That's really the main song of his that I've really gotten into. But there are definitely some other moments of his that I love too. Just like the heaviness and the storminess and heaviness of some of the writing sometimes is just like, damn it, dude, that's so deep and hard hitting. And it's like, I almost get the same feeling from that as I do from just like a really insane, Skrillex drop or something, like, I don't just it just has an intensity that kind of fires me up in a way that other music does too.
Okay. So, is Skrillex also an influence on any of your music?
Hugely. He's one of the best show I've ever seen in my life was Skrillex in 2011.
Really?
With the cell, with the projection mapping, and like, I swear to God, they must have backlined like 100 subwoofers or something, because it was like vibrating my bone marrow, and also the sound was perfect. Like they just, I don't know, whoever, the whole team, him, but it was mostly the music, but the whole production of it was amazing. So it was the best show I ever saw in my life, and I really think that era of Skrillex is, as far as like aggressive dance music, that's my favorite.
What era?
Like, I would say like 2010 to 2012 Skrillex is beautiful to me. Just, and some of it's not released, and it's not his most popular stuff, I would say, but definitely that Scary Monsters, Nice Sprites whole album, I love that. There's another song, actually this might be from a little later, it's called This Much Power. He released it later on, but it's kind of less dirty. The demo version on YouTube of This Much Power is just like so beautiful and just like so out of its mind. It's like a different way to write. To me, it's like sound effects layered on top of each other in a way that's like so musical, but it sounds like insane. It sounds like Looney Tunes or something. It's it's killing. I love it, dude. It hits me so hard. And there's other like straggler tracks from then, like Puppy and Needed Change, and of course there's other ones. There's a remix he did of Blawan called Bodies in My Garage, I think, which is just like so grooving. He makes really, it's just like it's so grooving to me and hard hitting. But anyway, he's definitely one of my all time favorites.
Oh wow, amazing. So I mean, I love the diversity of your taste. It's like pretty incredible, and I can hear that too in your music too. I can hear Skrillex even like in that song I was telling you about that I like so much. Let Me Snack, like that, when that hits, it feels like a same feeling as one of those old Skrillex tracks.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah.
But it's like got that like horror movie but playful sound effect chops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's cool. I love that. I love that feeling. It's great.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, of course. So you said you heard Mahler in like your 20s or something, like earlier, like did you go to music school?
Yeah, I went to USC in downtown LA.
Oh, cool. Yeah, a lot of great musicians came out of USC.
Yeah, it's a good school for that.
Yeah. So how did you enjoy going to music school, and what did you study drums?
I mean, I loved it. Yeah, I studied drums. That was my thing. The drums major.
Did you pick up any compositions from that, or composition instruction from that, or is all that kind of come from you after the fact?
Yeah, and I don't know how much I picked up as far as writing music there. I think, well, I did, but not from like the school. I think that I was just part of a group of like really creative musicians who really cared, and were just like, we all just were diehard music. And I wasn't at first. I developed into it, but I think that helped, like being around other people who were kind of like, we ended up growing together into being just like so passionate about music. And so being surrounded by all those people, we would just like show each other music constantly and be like pushing each other to be better. And definitely was like, it was, through the second half of that, I realized like I want to, art, I really realized, I guess later on I realized that that's what I wanted to do for a career. But during that time, I realized like my favorite thing to do in life is write music. So something, influenced me to do that. But I think it was like that environment and being around my friends and stuff then.
Do you still stay in contact or play with those people still? Yeah,
constantly. Sam Gendel is one of them.
Oh, okay. Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then there's this guy, Doug Mosier. He plays on, he's playing saxophone in the videos of that live video I put out of the big band that I have with horns and stuff. Yeah, we went to school together. There's a bunch of other people too. Yeah, but those are two that I make music with still all the time.
Amazing. I mean, Was school like what was your favorite thing about it aside from like being surrounded by people that you get to work with? Did you take to academia? Was that something that worked well with your brain chemistry?
Sometimes no, but I don't know. I just had a clarity when I was there that I was lucky to have. Like, I didn't necessarily go to every class, to be honest. But I had an insane work ethic that started to develop like my second year there, first or second year. And I was like, I guess I have a work ethic now. I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna really put in time. Because before I was like, I don't really want to practice drums. I would practice like a little bit here and there, but then I was like, I actually want to try to be great. And so, like, I remember there was one specific memory I was just talking about recently where one of the piano teachers, I had a jazz piano class where they were, showing us the basics of jazz piano. And I remember I was just like, man, I can't be here right now. I have to go practice. So I was next door practicing drums, and the teacher came over. And he's like, what the hell are you doing? I was like supposed to be in the class. I was practicing drums. And I was like, man, I'm sorry. I just like, I have to practice drums. And he knew that I was like, I gave a shit. It's just about music, but just maybe not his class right then. And he was actually cool with it. So, I don't know. It was fun, man. It worked out for me. It was just like, to me, it was the thing I got out of it the most was, like I was saying, like being around other musicians who loved music. And that's really the biggest thing for me. Obviously, like, there were great teachers there, and I learned a lot from some of them. Some of them I didn't, and that's how it always is at music school. But I think if you put too much emphasis on trying to get everything out of the school and not out of, your passion and finding out what you're excited about, then you're going to maybe not have a great time. But for me personally, I was lucky enough to have a clear passion and a work ethic that developed. And so for me, it was just like a great time because I was just working as hard as possible for several years in a great environment filled with other people who really gave a shit. And it was cool.
When you say like you actually wanted to try to be great and you were just surrounded by other people who are really pushing, was there any element of it that was competitive in any way?
Yeah, definitely, especially at first. And that part, I don't know. I do have a lot of competitive fire in me, but it comes and goes. In certain situations where it's like a total, bro blowout, and they're just like, who can fucking shred the giant steps harder than the next dude, then it's like, I don't really thrive in that environment maybe as much, but I do kind of on the inside have maybe like a little bit of I would like to do this better than anyone kind of a feeling, that's definitely, it's a recurring thought in my mind all the time with everything I do. So I do have it, but I think it's reasonable and I appreciate it and I like it. I don't try to fight it. I think it's healthy.
I mean, I think when you say the words like, I want to be great or try to be great, then that kind of attitude is a necessity. I mean, I even hear it a little bit in some of the lyrics of your tracks, a little bit.
Yeah, definitely on this new album too.
Yeah, failing in a cool way is an example to me. That's like feels like a fuck you to somebody. I don't know if it's I don't know if any of the stuff is autobiographical or more like just generally where you're at with things, but it felt like that was meaningful, and I felt a little bit of that competitive nature in there for sure.
Yeah, that definitely crosses over there, and definitely the song "I'm Tight" is like
for sure,
in a public, in a public outlet there. So,
but you're also really good at not taking yourself too seriously too. I mean, maybe it comes across more in the videos, like all those dance moves and stuff, just like the hundreds of dance moves that looked like were invented for that piece. Both feels like a pump up and just kind of like absurd,
Yeah, I think that's very healthy. I can't take I'll be the first one to make fun of myself. And then second is the YouTube comments that make fun of me, but I'll be the first one. And I think it's good that I don't take myself too seriously.
Totally.
Because I treat music as sometimes as the most serious thing in the world, and I'm like, this can heal the world and help humans evolve to like a higher state or some shit, you know. But then I also get into moments where I'm like, dude, but we're making music and people are dying everywhere, and it's like the world is so fucking dark. You just can't, you know, take it too seriously. There's too much. I don't know. There's just too much beyond that's happening, and I don't know. It's just, you know, I do put all of my spirit and everything I have into this music, but it's also like, I don't know. It just seems more correct to me to not take it too seriously, you know, some of the time. Also, at the same time, I do like making jokes and, you know, screwing around all the time. Basically, it's just kind of how I operate in life. So I think it would be kind of not genuine if that was not in at least some of my creations.
Right. I mean, I think that's a healthy way to be. I mean, I feel like if you want to be quote unquote great, you have to take everything incredibly seriously, but in the craft and how you're trying to establish it. But I think it's good to also have that healthy balance of self-awareness to realize that, like, yeah, if you take it, if you're unaware of the things happening around you, you just come off like a fucking ass. And who wants to listen to music made by a pretentious ass? You know?
Yeah, so. That's a good point. Yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah, I think that your music has humor in it.
Although I do like listening to Keith Jarrett.
Oh, I mean, well, he can get away with it. I mean, like him fucking throwing a bass at somebody's head or whatever he did when somebody was copped or something is inherently funny also.
True.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be taken too seriously either. It's pretty
funny. No, it's like that dude's hilarious. I love watching him, like him rocking his like beautiful curly hair just bouncing exactly right. Makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, I know, it is funny. He does that like he does that like butt out in the air wiggle thing sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It's like, dude,
that's the
so
back arch.
Yeah.
The back arch put a cup on his pelvis stance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's great. It's good
and
shit.
Then simultaneously, obviously, he's playing like the most beautiful shit I've ever heard. But it's just like it's funny.
Yeah. That guy's a channel for some insane galactic shit.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's next level. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. But I do hear definitely humor in your music. There's obvious humor in the music, but the thing that like really highlights it is your video work, which I actually think has ingrained even within all the jokes and obvious jokes in there. There's always like some actual little kernel of a really kind of a beautiful idea in a lot. Yeah, sure. I mean, I just think that's just honest. When I watch these videos, like I'll bring it up again because I love this song, but that song "Let It Happen." I predominantly, just for context, direct music videos.
Oh, cool.
And just direct videos in general. It's just how I met your friend Sam, because I do like a lot of the videos for Blake, and he was in 8 of them, I think, with the ones for Pino's record.
I've seen those then.
Yeah. You know, it was, you know, just kind of humble, just kind of letting them do their thing. But it's always great going in there, and it's always inspiring. But point is, that video, I mean, I've directed a video with a similar concept, but I don't think I ever came close to nailing it like you did in this way. That was also very funny with the Let It Happen video, because I don't know how you got those zooms so fucking far away. And like, you don't have to tell me, but
no, I'll tell you everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, it feels like a Where's Waldo sort of scenario, you know?
Man, yeah, I just had this concept where I was like, I want to look like I'm almost like the Grim Reaper kind of vibe, like behind daily life. You know, people are like, you know, out of the, you know, Westfield shopping zone or whatever they're called, and you know, I'm in the background looking like I'm from hell or something, you know, or just. I thought that would be like cool. I don't know, just fit like the vibiness of the song. And I was like, yeah, just a vision that came to me. Yeah. And then I was like, damn, it'd be great if I had one of those cameras, you know, on a CIA satellite that could zoom in. I was that's not available to, you know, peasants like me. But then I just was going on YouTube and I was looking up like far zoom camera, and I came across the P1000 Nikon camera. And I was like, holy shit, you can actually see like the rings of Saturn with this shit. and it's like available to any dork out there. It's like I got mine used for a few $100s, and I was like, dude, this is the camera.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure how to do. Like, I want to do zooms like from miles away, and then everybody I talked to is like, you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like, oh, you got to get one of those telephoto lenses as bird watchers. It's like, oh shit, and you just like immediately.
Yeah, and it's like a fucking 50 pounds, and
exactly.
Like, and it like,
but no, I don't know how it does it. I mean, I guess people are like, the quality isn't great, but it's like, dude, the quality is great. I don't even know what you're talking about.
But it also doesn't matter. Like, it quivers a little bit, I guess, and like, but like, I love that stuff, and I love the feel of all your videos too, where it feels perfect, but also like, yeah, who gives a shit at the same time in a weird way. Like, it's obsessed over, but like that, you know, even like, for example, F It Up. And I don't mean any of these. I mean every single thing as I say as a high compliment of artistry.
Yeah, totally.
When like the broom cam, for instance, obviously that's an imperfect way of doing something, but it was perfect for that situation, you know?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even if I had a, you know, 10 million budget for a video, there was a lot of the same themes would still show up, because I feel like that's the most honest representation of me. Is like, it's very, I don't know, I just feel most comfortable recording in a bedroom in my house. I don't like recording in a studio. I don't like, I don't know. I would definitely, if I had $10 million, I would definitely crash a helicopter into a boat. But
yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Other than that, I would still have like a broom camera with duct tape in it, because I think it's funny and cool, and it's like close to my heart. And I just think that that's more me than anything else. I think it's good that that's there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love that video. That's one of my favorite video to show people just new music, because it's just like an instant crowd pleaser, because that just going down the corner of that little staircase thing is such a good reveal. And the music the music is way better than it needs to be for something like that, which is like,
that's cool.
It's almost like busting out of the container, you know, which is like kind of a fun feeling to watch. So yeah, I love that one. That's for cool. Sure. Yeah, I mean, that was my take on it, is like, this sound can barely be contained by this what feels like a little suburban house that I've been in like 1,000 times, you know.
Yeah, totally.
So like, when you come up with the ideas for I mean, for a long time it felt like you were doing videos to a lot of the tracks you released. Was that like a strategy? Was it just the art form? Was it like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I guess just the first thing that I ever released was like a Britney Spears cover with Genevieve on YouTube. So just, I don't know, we were just like, I guess this is the way to do it. It like was only 3.5, 4 years old at that point. And I don't know, just like, that's all I've ever known. It was just like, that's where I release music, and that's where my biggest following is, just like YouTube. So a lot of it does have videos. But, you know, and then the last few albums that we've released, they weren't videos for long, just because it's like, I don't have enough time. The videos used to just be like me actually, you know, me and Genevieve actually recording the songs, like takes being filmed, and then it would just be like, you'd edit together the video as a visual representation of you making the song, which was a simple concept. And then it, you know, eventually was like, well, we don't need to do that forever anymore. And sometimes we'll make videos, but sometimes we'll just leave tracks as audio, because it's fine. And like, for example, I had a video for the last song I released, which was Dead Inside Shuffle. Yeah. But then I felt like it was stronger without a video. It just, with a static picture and just a song release, I actually thought it was stronger, because the video ended up not really nailing the vibe that I wanted. So I don't know. Yeah, I do like, you know, I'd like to ideally have a lot of videos out, because it's kind of just strengthens a message and a vibe and a feeling that you give people. And it's just fun, and it's another creative outlet. But sometimes there just isn't enough time, or it just doesn't make sense to have it.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that like the stuff that comes out is only the stuff that works. Like, that's good to know that you have, you know, some sort of filter on that. That's
yeah. Well, that filter's developed, because there are definitely some videos from before I maybe wish I didn't put out, but I still keep anyway, because it's kind of like a historical marker.
You want to share what those are, or are you going to keep it to yourself?
No, I'll definitely share. There are just some covers that Karen have done that, we don't want to do covers anymore. We don't want to be known as that. And luckily we haven't gone down in our own little history as cover artists, which is good. But it's like, still, I'm like, that's not us, fully. I like our original shit. I'd rather, have that be the strongest stuff out. And luckily it has been that way.
Yeah, I mean, I love the videos. I'm curious. Like, there seems to be like this, and I don't even know if it's a persona or not, but there's like the character of Lewis Cole in these videos. Do you feel like that's you, or is that like, do you feel like that's a character that's kind of like made, kind of this like straight-faced straight man in like an absurd world kind of situation?
That's definitely me. Some of that is shyness, honestly. Sometimes it's hard for me I don't want to showing certain parts of personality that are highly prevalent in my daily interaction on a video just feels wrong to me. So it's like, I ended up, just by filtration, it ends up being this like glasses faced, tall statue guy. It looks like an alien, but it's like, that is me also. Just, it's maybe just like a little, for some reason that, like doing a show or something, like my voice, when I talk into a microphone, it's maybe a little deeper, or, I cover my face and I don't really smile in pictures or anything like that, but it is me still. It doesn't feel forced. It feels more like I'm just filtering out everything else, kind of.
Oh, got it. Interesting. Well, and also like when you're talking about your voice being deeper, I mean, I am not surprised with how deep your voice is, but like certainly your voice on the record, and a lot, especially this record, I feel like, but on all of your music is like, can be really, really delicate. Really, really.
Yeah, I sound like a good
delicate.
choir boy.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's
for some reason come about.
I don't know, man. I just used to. My singing training is just singing along to like jazz solos in my car. And I don't know. I just try to like sing. I've never been like a power singer really, so I could sing high because it would kind of soar across the music. So it's like that ended up being my comfortable range. But then on top of that, I also like melodies up there that kind of, float above the chord meat.
Yeah.
And the registers of everything else. And so I end up melodies way up there because I like that register for melodies. But, I mean, it's a lot of falsetto for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you said oboe early on too, because some of your vocal lines sound like an oboe to me, like the topper part of an oboe register.
That's cool.
Just because like the angles of them too, like even you did that weird throat effect or whatever the hell that was. Exactly. That sounds like that weird oboe sound to me for whatever reason. That throaty, that's cool, but like very like clear denotation of the notes.
Man, I'd like to see the double reed stuff make a comeback, like in popular music.
Make it happen.
Yeah, man. I have I put an English horn solo, a fat one, in the Metropole project, so maybe that'll change the world.
How many double reeds are going in that one?
I mean, there's a lot of oboe and English horn throughout, but there's definitely one song that has a solo. But it's, it's just like, it kind of sounds classical, so it's not like a groundbreaking thing. But I would like to make a hard hitting track that's kind of like oboe driven. I actually made one when I was a kid. It was called Oboe Funk. My uncle was the principal oboist in the Vancouver Symphony for many years, and wow. We actually kind of talked about like a few years ago doing like a collab. Yeah.
Release Oboe Funk.
Yeah, I should, man. I should find that again. It's on a hard drive somewhere.
Yeah, or drop it in the Metropole situation.
Yeah, I should,
man. That's awesome. I love the record. I guess like as like one of the final things I'd want to talk about is kind of where did this record in particular come from? Is it especially meaningful for the time? Like, is there anything that you're trying to say with it? Like, why this and why now?
I mean, there's no like concept that glues everything together. It's more each concept is from song to song, I would say. But right. Besides that, I don't know. I mean, I was just trying to make the the deepest music that I could possibly make in this time. And also, just trying to, speak honestly in the lyrics and the presented musical feelings in the best that I could, but just, there's no like underlying concept that holds all the songs together, I guess. They're all different. They jump around conceptually.
I mean, I love the lyrics in the piece too. I mean, I like how the record starts out with this kind of spoken word thing that I think have lots of little beautiful, strange passages in there.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I mean, did you want to start out that track for a reason? Like when you structure an album, do you think of the order while you're writing it, or do you think like, oh, I need a good opener, yada yada?
What's funny is that actually I was when I recorded that song, I was like, damn, this would be so over the top and corny as an opener. And then I realized later on that it's the only one that made sense.
I mean, maybe it's over the top. It may be over the top, but I mean, in a good way. I mean, it's not corny anyway.
I ended up liking it, actually. It's like, yeah, exactly. It ended up being over the top, but like I think to me, the right way.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. And I do want to like ask more specifically about a specific song, because I do think it's like in music and in a lot of different art, it's not really, it's an interesting subject. And that is the song Failing in a Cool Way.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about that song and where it came from? And
yeah, part of the lyrics. Well, I used to just that groove came from a groove that I wrote for Nowhere to use that never ended up being used. It was for the song Butts, Tits, Money, and I ended up writing another bass line that worked for that song. So then I just would use that as like a section that I would just call out during Nowhere shows. I would just cue it randomly and we would play it. And then I was like, I was writing like at 6 a.m. on my phone. And I remember just kind of like basing the lyrics half in truth, like talking about how I worked at a supermarket, which is true. And I remember that being that was a pillar in my life, because I remember strongly thinking I wanted to have a career not in a supermarket, and that I wanted to work hard on music, because that kind of scared me to have to work there long term. It really just rubbed me the wrong way, and I wanted to have a music career. So that was like, I just always thought about that, that time in my life when I worked at Ralph's. So there, I touched on that, but then, there's other lyrics that kind of weren't directed at anyone in particular, but just kind of like a cloud representation of feelings from life, coming from actual true interaction that I had and true experience, but not talked about in a specific way, more of like a overall cloud of just like words that kind of paint this nebulous overall representation of a period of feelings, I guess.
Yeah, well, I thought it was great. I think a lot of musicians and artists of all mediums can really relate to that feeling, I think.
That's
so
cool.
I thought it was great. I love that track. I mean, I love the whole record. But yeah, thanks for making it. I think it's an important bit of tapestry in LA music scene for sure.
Man, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it feels very LA. I don't know why it feels that way. Just the general feeling of it is very LA to me.
That's really cool. I mean, It reminds me of LA, but that doesn't really count, because it's like where I made it, and But that's cool that it makes anyone else think of that.
Yeah, well, me at the very least. So what's next? Are you going on tour? Like, are you like doing anything special for the release?
I don't have anything special for the release. I'm kind of thinking about I'm working on these next albums, like the Nowhere album, and after that the Metropole album.
Yeah.
So that's really what's on my immediate radar. But I do have some tours coming up. I mean, I'm playing drums with Genevieve for her. She's got this project where she wrote music for a Swedish big band.
Oh,
so
cool.
we're going to do that. And then I have a tour of my own, West Coast, U.S. in October, and then I'm going to Japan in December.
Amazing. Okay, great. Well, any big shows in LA coming up?
Yeah, the 23rd at the Troubadour. Somebody said it was sold out, but maybe it's not. I don't know.
Hopefully it's not. I'll try to catch it if it's not sold out.
Yeah, it's on the 23rd.
Awesome, man.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, amazing. Thank you, Lewis. I appreciate you spending time with me and being generous with your time when we dealt with insane technical difficulties.
Oh man, it's okay. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna stop it now.
Cool.
Music for the podcast is by Rarebit, aka Justin Dosher Hopkins. YouTube and creative support is by Tyler Scully. Social media assistance is by Noah Wainwright. Thanks so much for tuning in, and see you next time.